Okay, welcome to making a pocket holster for my Boberg pistol, part 1. I'm sure it'll be more than one part. And this is my Boberg XR9-S, and it is safe. I've had this for several months, and I'm really happy with it, and I'm hoping to make it my carry option once I get to where I can shoot better with it. And so what I want to do is make a pocket holster that could also serve as an inside the waistband holster if I wanted it to. I've gotten kind of an idea, a rough idea of the holster I want already, and so I've got this paper template. I found that's the best way to do that, is to kind of get an idea, before you start what you want, and then just trace that out on your leather. I've already kind of wet this leather down. That's why it's darker. It's typically more this color when it dries. This is an under desk holster I made for my Glock 19. It velcros to the bottom of the desk, and you can access your pistol there. So what I'll do here is I'll just lay this alongside along. I've already cut one straight edge. You can see it had a bunch of irregular edges. And so what I did was make one straight edge. And I'm going to mark this out the best I can, hopefully without letting it move around a bunch. I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger, not too much, but in case I need to trim some off, or if I've got a radius that needs to be fixed or something like that. Okay, there we go. This X-Acto knife is getting kind of dull, but we'll try it out here. I had one technique where I actually planted the blade in the table. This is one of those resin tables, and actually just push, looks like it's going to be sharp enough, push the leather through it. And the reason for that is that it's easier to turn. It's easier to make curved cuts that way. But again, I'm trying not to cut exactly on my line, even though I'm getting kind of off. But you want to make one pass. The most important thing when you're cutting this leather is to cut it with one pass. You'll see some people when they're cutting, they'll just, that is a really messy way to cut leather. It leaves rough edges. If you have a really sharp knife, you can make one pass. You can see I missed the line there a little bit, but I can trim that. Just cut that off. I always save these scraps. You just never know what they're going to come in handy for. So that's one way, and on a long cut like this, you can just take a really sharp utility knife and just drag it across like that. And again, you just want to make one clean cut. You want to, you don't want to make multiple passes. There we go. You can see it's kind of got an odd shape there to it, but I'll fix that as we go. So I'll probably have to go wet this again to get it to take its shape. Now the reason I use this really thick leather is because when you wet this and it dries, it'll keep its shape. But these edges are real thick, and I'll show you a tool in a second. This will put a little edge, a little chamfer on the edge, and it keep the leather from looking so thick and bulky. This leather here is already starting to dry out. I just barely dampened it to get it to lay flat. So I'm going to go wet it again, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got it wet again, and it's funny, one thing I was noticing pretty quickly was that, you know, you need room right here to get your finger, I do, a fat finger in here. So I've noticed that on some of these pocket holsters, they come around and they have a little bit taken out right here. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And that's what this is about, is just a trial and error process. One thing I've learned that when I'm cutting is to kind of start sort of at a lower angle and get your bite. And if you need to do a tighter cut, then you can raise up. So now to get that mirror image, I just want to fold it over. That's odd. Looks like it wasn't that far off on the other side. I guess it's a good thing I made that alteration, because that just needs a little bit out right there. You just want to be able to get a good purchase on that pistol. You know, you want to be able to wrap at least this finger around it when you're pulling it out. So now I've got a little more room there. So the next thing I have to do is decide where to put this clip, because what I'm going to do is use these little screw posts. It has a female and a male that will attach this clip to the leather, and it'll allow it to swivel a little bit. You have to kind of visualize your belt. Let's say this is my belt. You don't want to have to reach down inside your pants to get you know, to your grip. Now the reason I want to have this screw post and not a rivet is because if this works out for me as a pocket pistol, you know, I can just leave that off. I can just take it off. But if I want to carry it inside my waistband, I could use it like that. So what I'm going to do is just mark that hole right there. Okay, now that I've got that hole marked, I just need to drill a hole big enough for that post to pass through, but not bigger than the head, obviously. So I'll just one thing I did notice is that post back, it's going to maybe have a tendency to rub on the pistol. I don't want that. So somehow I'm going to have to countersink this post. Let's see if I can get this little tool in there. Oh yeah. This is a little chamfering tool. And what you do is you just put it on the edge and ride it around the edge. See if I can get some of that out of there. good. I don't know if you can see that, but I can pretty much get it down below the surface. Now I've noticed that this hole, this clip is too small to go over that, so I'm just going to try to ream that hole out. Okay, the safer way of doing this is taking a smaller bit and running it through the hole and just reaming it out. There we go. Okay, so now that I have my shape pretty much the way I want it, and I've got my hole drilled, you know, you want to make sure you think about all of your attachments. You know, like if I had a belt, a loop somewhere or something like that, you want to put all those things on before you start folding this and shaping it, because once this is glued together and threaded, you won't be able to get to the inside of it anymore. But I think that's all the attachments I'm going to have. So what I can do now is I can just start taking the beveling tool and go around the edges and do whatever bevels I want. So I think I'm just going to start right here. And you just kind of have to do it by feel, really. I mean, this little camphor tool does have kind of a gauge effect to it, but still a matter of how much pressure you apply. But you really just want to take and get it started and just do one motion. I think I may be to a point where I can glue this up and start to mold it a little bit to the pistol. Okay, I don't know why this part always makes me nervous, but it does, and that is the gluing, because it's kind of final. It's contact cement basically for leather. You basically won't be able to get that apart once you get it on there, but what you want to do is kind of do what I've done, and that is kind of mark out the places where the glue is going to go and try to be as neat as you can about that. It will take a little bit here to get it soaked in to the leather. You don't want to be too messy with this. And really, I've got I don't know if you can hear the birds singing outside, but I have my windows open. And you just want to do this in a ventilated area. So I'm putting it on both sides, because this side of the hide is really porous and rough. What you want to do is let that get, kind of dry, kind of tacky before you put it together. While you're waiting on it to get tacky, you can get your clamps out. And what you'll need also are some little scrap pieces of leather to put on your leather, because these clamps have these little teeth on them. After a few hours, they'll leave an indentation on the leather. You kind of want to have this, when you put it together, where it's going to kind of go, because it wants to stick together really good. Okay, what I've decided to do is to go ahead and try to form some of this. This is going to take a while to dry, so I thought, well, if I want to wait a long time for it to dry, I might as well do a little forming. So what you can do is take a rounded, take one of your tools that has a rounded wooden handle and just kind of start to shape that in there. And you can do this again. It's just, I think I'm going to go ahead and try to get this to keep a little bit of its shape. So I'll show you how I'm going to do that too in just a second. I'm thinking this leather will make the clamp just grab on to that better. There we go. Isn't that a convoluted mess? If I can keep constant pressure, these rounded parts, you know, it'll eventually, it'll slowly form to the pistol, the shape of the pistol. So while that's convoluted looking now, when I take this contraption off, it should look pretty good.